It's 1 week out from Lunar New Year, and it certainly looks like it out there. This is this week's Freight Market Update. Today is February 9th. I'm Mike Emiliani. Let's get right into it. The first week of February marked a pivotal moment for transactional diplomacy, specifically at the de-escalation of trade hostilities between the United States and India. The U.S. successfully used tariff leverage to pivot India away from Russian energy markets, trading its 7% reduction in reciprocal duties for expanded access to India's vast agricultural sector. Meanwhile, the European Union signaled a hardening stance against Chinese industrial overcapacity by initiating mandatory registration for the specific tech-adjacent imports and drafting the Industrial Accelerator Act. The event suggests that while the U.S. is focusing on using tariffs to achieve geopolitical alignment, the EU is increasingly prioritizing strategic autonomy through local content mandates and defensive market registration. Shifting now to this week's ocean, air, and freight markets. The ocean freight market has effectively cooled as China enters its final working week before the Lunar New Year holiday shutdown. Rates have stabilized at the lower levels established in previous weeks, with no significant movement recorded week to week as the shipping window for the pre-holiday departures is officially closed. Looking first at China to U.S. West Coast. Rates remain steady and are currently holding between $1,400 to $1,600 per container. According to our partners, most bookings are now being quoted these days between $1,450 and $1,600, showing total stability from the previous week. Looking now to China-US East Coast. Very similar story. Rates on the East Coast also show no week-over-week change, generally for the most part maintaining $2,400 to $2,500. Now looking at this past week, what happened and what drove this week's markets? Well, the biggest one being the window for shipping cargo to ensure departure before Chinese Lunar New Year has essentially passed. Any new shipments booked before this week will not make it out before the holiday, leading to a natural cool down in demand. Trucking rates across China have spiked for good reason, as drivers prepare for the holiday and capacity tightens for the final pre-shutdown moves. Next, exhausted booking activity. After a period of catching up last week, market activity has essentially died down. Shippers have completed their primary holiday planning, leaving very little cargo left to move in the immediate term. And last, air freight price adjustments. Air freight rates have shifted slightly lower as airlines look to fill any remaining space for outgoing flights. Rates are currently landing generally between the $3 to $4 mark per kilo, with some outliers still hanging around the $5 mark. Now looking ahead, what can importers expect from the weeks ahead? Well, not much. We're 1 week out from the Chinese Lunar New Year, and it's very much that. The market is entering a period of total dormancy. Market participants in China and Southeast Asia are shifting focus towards the holiday, with almost no interest in new business or shipping schedules for the upcoming week. Next week is the Chinese Lunar New Year itself, during which manufacturing and logistics activity in China will effectively drop to zero. Shippers should expect an even quieter update next week, honestly, with rates likely to remain frozen at current levels until factories reopen and a post-holiday volume assessment begins. Down in the description of this week's video, you can find a bunch of links that we really liked reading and that helped go into this week's update. As always, this week's update is powered by FreightRight's True Freight Index, your answer to the question, what's it cost to ship today? That's all for this week's update. We'll see you next week.